How do you like to finish the college basketball season paying under $30 per week? Between now and Selection Sunday on March 12th, there's still tons of regular season college basketball action to go. Plus, all of the conference tournaments and Wager Talk and Sports Memo are announcing their March Madness Bonanza special that will include the rest of the college basketball regular season, conference tournaments, NCAA tournament through the national championship, and any plays released in the NIT or CBI tournaments. That's right, from Monday, February 27th through Monday, April 3rd, there are 5 full weeks of hoops action, which breaks down to under $30 per week. Sign up for this promotion now on your favorite handicappers homepage and get the rest of the college basketball season through the national championship in Houston on Monday, April 3rd, plus all non-March Madness tourneys, including the NIT and CBI, all for only $149. That's under $5 a day for one of the best betting experiences in sports. Some call March Madness the most exciting time in sports betting, so act fast as the March Madness Bonanza special is only available for a limited time. Grab your favorite college basketball handicapper, or perhaps add 2 or 3 college hoops experts to make this March Madness not only exciting, but also profitable. No coupon is needed, just head to the homepage of the handicapper of choice and lock the $149 price in now. As the earlier you sign up, the more days you receive.
Here we go, everybody. It's Wednesday, March the 8th, and this is the College Basketball Happy Hour Tip-Off Show powered by WagerTalk.com. We're live every Monday through Friday, 2 Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific, right here on Wager Talk TV. And don't forget to watch this show archived 24/7 on Wager Talk on YouTube, and also download the favorite app in the mobile store, the Wager Talk TV app for your favorite mobile device. I am Steve Merrill, filling in for Joe Ranieri. He heard we might talk Oklahoma State today, so he ran for the exit. He's one of the non-biased, non-partial hosts. He also heard Brian Power might make fun of Oklahoma State. I think that was the other reason. But I am joined by 3 of the best college basketball cappers at wagertalk.com. Drew Martin, Adam Trigger, and the aforementioned Brian Power in the house. And guys, Drew, it's a great time of the year. Selection Sunday, less than a week away. But the next 3 days, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and even Saturday, a ton of college basketball, some very meaningful games, and the brackets are constantly changing here over the next few hours, the next few days. Drew, what you got going on for Wednesday at wagertalk.com?
Sure, Steve. I mean, you bring up, I was actually talking about it with Robert getting ready for the show. Now's one of the more underrated times of the betting calendar, in my opinion, for us sports bettors out there. We got MLB right around the corner, some spring training games, getting ready for kind of those full season MLB season win totals and conference championship tournament time right now. March Madness in full swing. So it's a great time to be a sports bettor. We got 3 good games on the slate for today. I mean, the Big 12 and the Big Sky, we're breaking it down in detail. So excited to get after it, Steve.
It really is a great time of the year. It's kind of like that argument: is the Super Bowl better, or is Championship Sunday with the 2 AFC NFC championship games better? And this week is kind of like that. We get all these conference championships before the March Madness, the Super Bowl of college basketball, which starts next week. Adam Trigger, you're taking advantage both this week and next. You're going to a Patriot final tonight at Colgate. That's why you got the shirt on. And then next week, you're going to the first round in Albany. And in between, there's some opportunity for people to interact with you. So tell us about your schedule, and more importantly, about that meet and greet. We have an East Coast meet and greet. We got the August 19th, Saturday, August 19th in Las Vegas, the second annual at the Superbook, the Westgate. But we're also doing another March Madness one. This time it's on the East Coast next week in New York. You've been the point man, Adam. Give us some details.
Yeah, so we're going to have a meet and greet, Verona, New York, Turning Stone Resort and Casino. It's in central New York, so it's about a half hour east of Syracuse, about 90 minutes west of Albany, right in the middle of the state. Very easy to get to from basically anywhere in the Northeast. Brian Power will be there, I think. He'll let him confirm that when he's up in a second. But a bunch of us, CT Betts is coming. I know Carm's coming down from Canada. Dwayne Bryant might take a ride up. There's, probably going to be quite a few of us there. Mark Zeno, who co-host our show, The Hustle, with us on occasion, will be making the trip. So, bunch of us, pretty simple. We're just gonna hang out and watch college hoops for a few days. We'll be there on Thursday and Friday. The actual meet and greet day is Saturday, I believe, like pretty much all day until the games are over. And I'll be going out to Albany on Sunday, 90 minutes away. First and second round games in Albany, New York. So there's games there on Friday. I probably personally won't go to the games on Friday, but if you plan to come out, those games are in Albany all day on Friday, and then the second round on Sunday, Albany, New York. So we're going to be hanging out all weekend watching games. Like I said, people can catch a game not too far away if they want to. But it's just basically going to be watching the games at the sports book at Turning Stone, hanging out. Wager Talk will be in town with some merch and some free stuff, and there's going to be a bunch of us there. So come on down.
Yeah, and Adam Trigger's not a bad guy to talk and watch college hoops with because he's on a mere 17-4 run in all sports right now at wagertalk.com. So he told you about the meet and greet, but be sure to check out. He's got a strong 4% college basketball best bet. He's on a 17-4 run over the past week at wagertalk.com. Brian Power, you'll also be at the meet and greet in New York next weekend. Looking forward to hearing some stories. I'm not going to make it up there, but I'm sure Drew will be in Vegas with me in August. So you guys get things started on the East Coast this next week. And Brian, what you got going on at wagertalk.com?
Yeah, Trig wasn't kidding. It's very easy to get to. It's just a 5-hour jaunt for me up I-90 to the meet and greet. So yes, I'll be there. And Steve, for Wednesday, loaded card, one of the biggest cards I have had in quite some time. 6 plays total. The first one has just tipped off, as a matter of fact. And then we've got 2 soccer plays that will be starting in the Champions League here in about an hour. I will be reposting my 3 evening plays, 2 college hoops best bets, 1 NBA best bet after we're done here. So you'll have a second chance to get my 3 night plays. Those soccer plays are still up, and then you'll get a second chance here as soon as we're done to get those 3 night plays if you already haven't had them. 63% all sports last 10 days. So I'm feeling pretty good, Steve.
Yeah, we're talking college hoops here, but there's a lot going on. We got free baseball. We got World Baseball Classic, NBA, NHL. Don't forget free plays posted each and every day from numerous cappers at wagertalk.com. I've actually got a free NBA play tonight, and I've also got 4 best bets along with it. So this is a loaded Wednesday at wagertalk.com for all of us. Let's get right to it, guys. And Drew, I'll start with you. I know you appreciate some good mid-major college basketball, especially championship games. I actually watched a little of the Montana State Weber State game last night on ESPN2 late at night. And I think they had like the local announcers doing that game. These guys I'd never heard on the ESPN network. So they're digging deep this time of year. But I love mid-major basketball. And we've got a good one tonight. Big Sky final, Northern Arizona against Montana State. And Montana State, a touchdown favorite here, Drew. 7.5-point favorite. Which way are you going in this one?
Yeah, 7 in the hook here, Steve, and a good one. I also caught some of that Weber State Montana State game last night, and you add on 11:30 Eastern PM tip here to the mid-major style, and this is going to be a fun one to bet tonight. Steve, the Big Sky Championship game, I doubt either of these 2 teams kind of get a bid here if they don't win, and it kind of leads me to what I'm betting in this game. Now, Montana State 24-9 on the season needs to be set up. Northern Arizona just 12-22, yes, under 500, finding themselves in the championship game. But we got to go back to, why is this happening, Steve? And if you look at their point totals, talking about Northern Arizona here, the Jackrabbits, 87, 81, and 83. That's how many team total points they're scoring in the tournament. And I always go back to, what is that, the venue? By the way, it's the Idaho Central Arena here where the Idaho Steelheads, the minor league hockey team, play. Yeah, they might like the venue, but actually I would go towards the Virginia Tech transfer, Jalen Cone. He scored 25 plus points in 4 of the last 5 games, and he plays their point guard. It's similar to, actually, Trig and I talked about this on the Hustle. Texas A&M has their best player at the point guard position. They kind of open it up. I'm seeing Northern Arizona kind of doing the same thing here. That might be kind of a bet on, look to bet them over the totals. That's what I'm going to look to do tonight. You can actually shop around, find it 134.5, very modest total here in the mid 130s. Northern Arizona going more up tempo here. Now, Montana State does have a good defense, but overall, both of these 2 teams, hitting from the free throw line as well, over 73% for both of them. Steve, sidewise, I think it's tough for me. I do think Montana State wins this and punches their ticket into the tournament. They were a 14 seed last year. They lost to Texas Tech. I think they make the tournament, but even more so, Steve, I'd go after this total, and I like it up and over in the Big Sky Championship game.
Yeah, it's funny you're talking about point guards. As I was watching that game last night, Darius Brown the second, the point guard for Montana State, looks like number 10, Drew. He looks like he's like 40 years old, has a receding hairline, kind of short and stocky, like John Stockton. And they were talking about the game, both Weber and Montana State last night. Some transfers in, that's what we got at him with the trigger, the COVID year. We got guys fifth, sixth years, grad students. They often sneak into these mid-major programs. Montana State should win this game tonight, but it's never always that easy. Which way are you going to this one, Adam?
Well, Drew brings up Cone. He's not only the best player on Northern Arizona, he very well might be the best player in this entire conference. I really, truly believe that. And I've kind of referenced that at different points in the year, but he's awesome. And that would be the path to victory for Northern Arizona, would be their guards. Their guards are outstanding, led by Cone, and they can potentially hang around, based on their guard play here. Where I think they could struggle is inside. Montana State, much stronger on the interior. They might dominate the game in the paint, which, so that would be Montana State's path to sort of pulling away in this game. I worry about tired legs for both teams. Montana State looked exhausted against Weber State in that game. It was actually a horrible game. If you caught that game, that would be my concern, Steve, with coming back and taking Northern Arizona here. That's like the one thing that keeps me off taking Northern Arizona with the points, is that Montana State just played one of their worst games in memory, and was fortunate enough to get out of it with a win last night. But they played really bad. They just, it was a poor performance. They were very fortunate to win, and I know that Montana State is better than what we saw last night. I thought Montana State would win this conference this year. I was never a huge believer in Eastern Washington. I really thought Montana State was the best team in this league. I still think Montana State goes to the NCAA tournament. My tune has not changed on that. I think they're the best team in the Big Sky. I think they find a way to get it done, but I don't know that I want to lay 8 with them for a bet. I still think that number might be a tad high, and I do. And Northern Arizona, they're a team that I've thought was better than what their record had kind of said this year. I thought this team was poised with Cone to break out. They kind of didn't. Now they are. And remember, guys, little flaw in the Big Sky, the way they set this tournament up, they give the day off to the 1 seed, assuming the 1 seed's going to win. But if the 9 seed, Northern Arizona, pulls the upset, they get the extra day off before their semifinal game. So they didn't have to play 2 days ago. They played last night. Maybe they're a little fresher, but their bench, not much of a bench. That's another concern. So I think Montana State wins as well. I very, very slightly lean toward Northern Arizona based on the number, but it's just that it's too tough. Maybe like some of these games yesterday, Charleston was a great example. They go down early. They were down at half. They come back and win. Maybe that happens here. If Montana State falls behind, they find a way to come out and win, and you can get it in game or maybe get on them at halftime. I think the Bobcats win, but I can't lay 8 points. That's my take in this game.
Brian Power, that jumps out to me is not only did Montana State win the 2 regular season meetings, they win by 15 on the road, laying 6.5. So obviously they dominated that game. But you look, well, they only won by 1 at home as a 12.5-point favorite in the rematch, but they were 3 for 18 from 3-point range. And Northern Arizona was 10 for 17, 59% to 17%. They still won the game. So the more I look at this, it seems like Montana State's the way to go in this one. Do you agree or disagree?
First off, Steve, I'm just so excited that we got to break this game down. There's just a lot of interesting angles to go at it with. Trig touched on this, and I am with him on this. For those who have not followed the Big Sky, and I reckon that's a lot of people listening, let's just catch them up. I did have Montana State rated as the best team in this conference all season. They were not the number 1 seed, as Trig pointed out. It was Eastern Washington, who actually entered the final week of the regular season as one of just 2 teams in the country with 0 conference losses. I was not a buyer on them either. Sure enough, Eastern Washington bows out of the conference tourney early at the hands of Montana State's finals opponent here, Northern Arizona. And guys, this has been a really shocking run by Northern Arizona. Let's not bury the lead here. They were the 9 seed in this tournament. They had just 7 wins over D1 opponents in the regular season. And tonight, while they did get that break, Trig mentioned, it's their 4th game in 5 days. But I'm not really looking to fade Northern Arizona here. I hate the term momentum quite a bit, but Northern Arizona probably has it. And they are 17-6 against the number as a dog this season. And as the guys have pointed out, Montana State went to double overtime last night. It was just an ugly, horrible rock fight, 60-58 final. And after a result like that, it's not surprising to see bettors jumping on the under at all. I think the number dropped as low as 134 at one point this morning from an opening number of 138. And I think the best course of action, I agree with Drew that the game could go over, but I like Northern Arizona under its team total. And that's because not only did Montana State just hold a team to 58 points over 50 minutes last night, they held Northern Arizona. You talked about the regular season meetings there, Steve, a moment ago. Northern Arizona only averaged 61.5 points per game in the 2 regular season meetings with Montana State. I think Northern Arizona is probably in line for some offensive regression as well, guys. They average 85. They have averaged 85 points on 48% shooting their last 5 games. For the season, 73.6 points on 43.9% shooting. So Montana State is a pretty good defensive team. I like Northern Arizona under its team total, which was 64.5 when I put up a free play on it on my page. So that, I believe, is the best course of action in tonight's Big Sky Championship game.
Yeah, both teams play below average tempo. Montana State in the 220 range, and they're in the top 65 or so in defensive efficiency. So if Montana State is fatigued, it should be a slow half-court defensive game tonight. That's a late game at 11:30 Eastern on ESPN2. Big Sky Championship, Northern Arizona at Montana State, actually against Montana State in Boise, Idaho. All right, let's look at one of the big boy games tonight. We're going to talk about a Big 12 matchup between the Oklahoma Sooners against the Oklahoma State Cowboys. This game at 9:30 Eastern on ESPNU. The Big 12 tournament in Kansas City, Missouri. Oklahoma State opened as a 1-point favorite. And Adam, I'll start with you. They're currently 1 across the board. A couple of 1.5s out there. Total opened 135.5. It's dropped down to about 135. So Adam, not too much movement on the side or total. Which way are you going in this one?
I'll go quicker here, and I'll leave most of this one to the other 2 guys because this is I don't have a huge opinion in this game, other than the fact that I'll just point out that Oklahoma State would have to beat the same team 3 times in a season, which is maybe an overrated angle at times, but it's still something to note, especially when it's your rival. That's never easy to do. Problem here is I don't love the matchup for Oklahoma. Oklahoma State, they're athletic. They can force Oklahoma into turnovers, something that they will do. But the problem here is like if Oklahoma State doesn't have Avery Anderson, that's a concern. That would be something that would ultimately give me, kind of pause and want no part of Oklahoma State. So I think it's going to be a pretty good game. I think that number is about right. Kind of a coin flip to me here. I'll be monitoring Anderson's status, but ultimately, I don't know if there's going to be enough to get me to jump in with either side here. So I'll leave this one to the other 2 guys and see if they have anything stronger than me.
Yeah, and Brian, I'm going to come back to you next because, first of all, I think you have a good Oklahoma State joke for Joe Ranieri, who's not here, so I got to hear that. But also want to get your thoughts on this. Adam said he's kind of neutral on this game, and the betting market's been pretty neutral as well. Very little movement so far on the side or total.
Yeah, I was. Had Joe been hosting, I was going to just say, well, I guess we should go with Oklahoma State because I know where my bread is buttered on this show, but that's not exactly actionable info there, Steve. So let's instead focus on the fact that the Cowboys, as Trig said, they beat the Sooners twice during the regular season. They win by 16 in Stillwater and 10 in Norman. And going back further, they're 5-1 straight up and against the number of the last 6 meetings here in this rivalry. Now, the Cowboys are a bit of a streaky team. They had a 5-game win streak in early February. Then they lose 5 in a row. But they closed the regular season with an outright win at Texas Tech. Winning on the road in this league is not easy, Steve. You know that. And sticking with the Jekyll and Hyde theme here, Oklahoma, man, they have perhaps the most outlier performance of any team this college basketball season when they beat Alabama 93-69. I was on the Sooners in that game. That was it was something I remember. I was actually at the bar and it was on, and I just kept looking over, doing a double take at the score. I just couldn't believe what I was seeing. But since that game, since just thumping Alabama, Oklahoma, Steve, just 3-7 straight up with 6 double-digit losses. So it's not been a good end of the regular season for them. Trig mentioned the matchup. Yeah, I think Oklahoma State matches up well with Oklahoma. Top 20 in defensive efficiency. The Sooners do turn the ball over too much. Highest turnover percentage in the Big 12, in fact. And Oklahoma State, if they're hitting their threes like they did in the first meeting, they should be in really good shape. When they won in Norman, and this is interesting to look back at, Oklahoma State only hit 4 of 16 from three, and they had a minus 21 deficit in free throw attempts, and they still won by 10. I don't think we're going to see that kind of 3-point shooting and that kind of deficit from the charity stripe tonight. So that's another reason to like Oklahoma State. Avery Anderson does give you pause, his status. They have the very generic resumed basketball activities has been reported for him. And if he plays, this number will shoot up. So if you like Oklahoma State and you don't care about Anderson's status, I would bet them right now. They are 14-3 straight up, 11-6 against the number when favored. With or without Anderson, my lean is to Oklahoma State. So that's how I'll play this one.
Drew Martin, I posted last week, I posted a college basketball contest. It's still up there. It goes all the way through Selection Sunday. And I've got a lot of different questions like who will make the tournament, who will be a higher seed. And when I did this last week, I was looking at Lenardi's projections. North Carolina was the first out. So I put that as my first question. Will North Carolina make the tournament or not as a 50-50? They've fallen a little bit further even. But what I bring that up because right now, if you look at the projections, Oklahoma State is the first team out of the tournament. They were the second out last week when I was looking at it. So it's a huge game, obviously, tonight. I would say they have to win this game. Do you think that's maybe why they're a 1-point favorite? And Drew, what are you doing with this one?
Putting the number on that, like kind of almost motivation, I always find like it depends. There's bias involved in that, Steve. So I always think it's kind of like a tough question to answer. Um, I actually think Oklahoma State is favored in this game just because Oklahoma, I mean, sitting under 500, 15-16 on the season. Outside of that Alabama game, which Brian talked about, I mean, it has been a horrific run for the Sooners. They're 3-7 their last 10. Now, Oklahoma State hasn't been playing good basketball either. They've lost, 5 of their last 6. They did beat the Red Raiders their last time out. And the guys already talked about it, Avery Anderson. I think that's a big part of this handicap, Steve. And keep in mind, guys, I mean, if they lose this game, first round of the Big 12 tournament, and they're sitting here on the bubble, they're likely not going to make the tournament. So I actually think he gives it a go. Brian talked about, the reports out of Stillwater are, he's resuming activities. When you're the best player, you're the point guard. I think you do give it a go. Now it's a wrist injury. How effective will he be? They're a lot better team when he's playing and when he's 100%. So I think this is a great opportunity to watch this game. Bedlam, first round Big 12 tournament. And if he's out there and he's playing well, maybe look to bet on on Oklahoma State here and laying the one. If you get anywhere near that kind of around game time and he's out there, I think that's a pretty good bet. So that's the way I'm going to go after this one. Look to bet Oklahoma State if Avery Anderson does play.
Yeah, and something I talked about how there's been very little movement in the betting market on the side or total. I think a lot of people might be saying, let's wait for the end game betting, Drew. Let's catch a live line. Let's see how he looks out there if he's out there. So I think that's an excellent point and a great way to attack this game maybe tonight at 9:30 Eastern if you're watching it on ESPNU. All right, let's talk about one more game before we get to the best bets at the end of the show here. We'll talk about the other game in the Big 12 Conference Tournament in Kansas City, Missouri. The first game tonight at 7 Eastern, and that takes place between Texas Tech and West Virginia. We have seen some movement, Brian, on this one. West Virginia opened 2.5. They're up to a 4-point favorite now across the board. Brian, we've also seen movement on the total, 147 down to 145.5. So a little bit of West Virginia and under money, Brian Power. Do you agree with either?
Yeah, I agree with the West Virginia money here. These are two teams I've had success with, Steve, in the past, but they come into the Big 12 tournament in dramatically different form. Texas Tech, they dropped 3 in a row to end the regular season, and the situation, obviously, with the head coach, Mark Adams, he's suspended. Not exactly an opportune time for that to happen. Meanwhile, you got the Mountaineers. They're 3-1 straight up their last four. They've cashed in all four games. This is, if you look at Ken Palm and the computers and the advanced stats, guys, a very underrated West Virginia team. I think they're a top 25 team. I think Ken Palm has them number 17 in the country. So they could be the dark horse in this tournament, which figures to be among the most challenging in the entire country. Obviously, Big 12, certainly the best league in America this year. And, to the point about West Virginia, just, how good are they? This is a team that closed as a 5.5 point favorite against number 11 Kansas State in the regular season finale. I bet West Virginia is at a better number in that game. They cover. And I think the fact that they were favored over the number 11 team in the country by 5.5 points, granted in Morgantown where they're a better team, I think that speaks volumes. And now Kansas State, I think, is a little overrated, quite frankly. But West Virginia, they recently went to Iowa State and won outright as a dog. Their lone loss in those last four games comes by 2 points at Kansas. They split with Texas Tech, each winning on the other's floor in the regular season. But the way I see it is WVU's got several key advantages in this matchup, aside from the fact Texas Tech doesn't have its head coach. They're great at cleaning up the glass at both ends of the floor, Steve. They're third in the conference in offensive rebound percentage, 27th nationally. Third in the conference in offensive rebounding percentage allowed, and 27th in offensive rebounding percentage of their own. Number 15 in offensive efficiency. Texas Tech does not do a good job at cleaning up the offensive glass. West Virginia is going to force turnovers here. I look for the Mountaineers to get it done. They also are very good at getting to the free throw line. I know you're not getting the best of the number anymore, but I would still play West Virginia at this number, Steve. Mountaineers advance and cover the spread.
And once again, Brian's in some agreement with some early money, at least some early sharp money, as this line has risen a bit to the current line of -4.5. Adam Trigger, what are you doing with this game at 7 Eastern tonight on Wednesday?
So if you got in early and got on West Virginia, that's fine. I would say, good job at beating the number. If you're coming in now, I could only play Texas Tech, and I'll go to the coach. So CT Betts and I were down in Waco last week. He has a couple friends within the program, and one told us some stuff about Mark Adams, which apparently is known among insiders. I did not know. I'm not going to get into details, but let's put it this way. I don't think he's a very good guy, Steve. I think he's kind of a dirtbag, and I think him being gone is a good thing. I think it's going to be some addition by subtraction there with him being out of there, because I don't think he's particularly well liked inside that program either. I don't have any information on what the players think of him, but just from being a good human being standpoint, doesn't seem like he's that. And the source here is good enough where I don't mind coming on here and making those claims, because I checked it out with some other sources and it sounds like it's pretty accurate. Now, here, so I don't buy the, well, they don't have their head coach. Like I said, that to me would be a plus in the favor of Texas Tech, him being out of there. But I don't fully disagree with Brian. I mean, there's definitely some matchup advantages on the West Virginia side. They could crush Texas Tech on the glass here. That would be my biggest concern, is that they would just have a field day on the with rebounds, easy buckets in that manner. But I do think the number's big now. I wouldn't be laying 4 to bet West Virginia when you could have had it at a better number. If that's the case, maybe you try to get on it in game and get like a little bit better number on it at halftime, get a little bit better number. If 4 or 4.5, I'm not sure what's out there at this time, because it's kind of fluctuated a little bit. But I did see 4.5s at one point. I'm assuming it's 4 right now. I would lean toward Texas Tech there. And Texas Tech, they've kind of been, they don't go away. Like, they'll definitely hang around. They're going to play hard. They're a little healthier than they were a couple weeks ago. So for me, I guess it's enough of a reason for me to not want to touch West Virginia. I haven't been high enough on Texas Tech this season, though, to fully jump in and play the dog, but it is the way I lean here. So I would take the 4 with Texas Tech if I was getting involved in this game.
Well, the Wager Talk live odds screen is agreeing a little bit with Adam Trigger, because a couple of spots, one offshore and one at Caesars, just went to 3.5 like a minute ago. So there aren't be 4.5s like you said anymore. There were earlier, it was mostly 4s, and now there's some 3.5s, Drew. So this line going back and forth, but the money still has come in on West Virginia and the under today. Drew Martin, do you agree with either of those? Where are you going in this game?
I think I agree with where Brian was going with this towards the West Virginia side. However, with the I guess you always got to respect the late money here and what's going on there with the Wager Talk live odds screen, Steve. But Texas Tech has lost 3 straight games. I thought that was an interesting point by Trig. Maybe some addition by subtraction there with the head coach. I don't really know enough about it, so I got to leave that out of my handicap. What I do know about is this West Virginia defense, that havoc defense that they play. Not exactly the same as years past, but still, there's a correlation with West Virginia winning against the spread against teams that turn the ball over at a high percentage, and that's the Red Raiders. I mean, they're bottom 100 nationally in terms of turnover percentage, and that's usually where West Virginia kind of excels against getting those wide open points up and down the court, kind of those layup type points. And I could see that happening. I mean, West Virginia's won 2 straight. They're playing better basketball of late. They beat Iowa State and Kansas State. So overall, I mean, especially that game against Kansas State, they scored 89 points. I think West Virginia is the side here. And if you can get them as low as 3.5, it's tipping us off in the Big 12 tournament on ESPNU. I would look towards the Mountaineers minus the 3 in the hook.
Once again, West Virginia was 4 across the board, some 3.5 starting to show. So keep it on this line if you like West Virginia, as both 3.5 and 4 is currently available in the betting market. All right, those are some spotlight games for tonight on Wednesday, March the 8th, but there are a ton of games. In fact, today and tomorrow, there's more college basketball by far than the entire NCAA tournament. So it's a great money making opportunity the next couple of days. And let's start off with some best bets. And we'll go down the bottom corner and work our way around. Let's start with Brian Power. Brian, what is something you're looking at tonight for the viewers here on the show?
I just talked about it. Best bet for the show. It is a client play. Is West Virginia. Just to go back to something Trig said. It's an interesting angle to talk about because the way Adams left, I can't imagine the players are exactly sad to see him go. And there could be a sort of like rally around the situation, but it's not enough for me to get on Texas Tech. I've seen this team. The one time I had a huge play on them, they were down 23 in the second half to Iowa State, had to rally at home to win that game. And I got a little tongue tied with the rebounding numbers there. I'll just re-go over this. The Mountaineers, third in the conference in offensive rebound percentage allowed, so they don't give up a lot of second chance points. And Texas Tech, Steve, really a lot relies on offensive rebounding because they're dead last in the conference in effective field goal percentage. So I love the matchup for West Virginia. Great time to be alive this weekend. We got teams playing every day. It's actually, you got to stay on top of even more than the NCAA tournament because, those teams obviously have the day break. You either play Thursday, Saturday, Friday, Sunday. Here, they're playing every day. You got to stay on top of all these conference tournaments. I'm looking forward to a big weekend here at Wager Talk and continuing that 63% all sports run. But West Virginia, to answer your question, is my best bet for today's show.
And once again, we talk about every people wait till the tournament next week. Once again, more action the next couple of days in the entire postseason. So not a bad time to get the 149 all-inclusive college basketball special from any of us and all of us at wagertalk.com. No promo code needed. Get all your favorite cappers and get every one of their college best bets through April 3rd for just 149 flat. The sooner you get on board, the sooner you get additional free days. So why wait a couple days? Because we have over 50, 60 games the next couple of days alone at wagertalk.com. Adam Trigger going to the Patriot League final tonight, Colgate and Lafayette. And let's give us a little something to talk about in that game.
Yeah, I talked about it on Wager Talk today, but I'll just reiterate it here because it is a client play for me. I will be in the building tonight at sold out Cotterell Court in Hamilton, New York. 1,750 people fit in there, and those 1,750 tickets were gone in about 2 seconds. So it should be an awesome atmosphere tonight. But I think this number is a little out of control, Steve. I made it 11. So to see 14, I had to jump in and take the underdog. I took Lafayette plus 14. It is a client play, 4% play. These two teams played twice this year, and both games were competitive. The first game that was actually on this floor, Lafayette led by 1 at half, and then it ended up losing by 12, which would cover tonight's number, but didn't cover the initial number of 11.5, which is where I think this number probably should be. 2 weeks ago, or about a week and a half ago, these two teams played at Lafayette. That was a 2-point game with about a minute left. Lafayette was right in that game the entire way, had a chance to potentially tie or take the lead with under a minute left. They end up losing by 4. Uh, what I've loved about this Lafayette team, I've played them a couple times this season. Earlier in the non-conference, was they have been outstanding as a underdog, and specifically a big underdog this year. They have covered against Miami, Penn State, St. John's, Cornell, St. Joseph's, Princeton. They covered +8 against LaSalle in a game they won outright, and they took Penn to overtime before eventually losing. So they've played superior competition, and they've played well when they step up and play teams from bigger conferences. Now, even though Colgate's in their conference, Colgate certainly qualifies as a step up in competition because they're far and away better than everyone else in that conference. They, like I said, they split from an ATS perspective. They covered at home. They fell a half point short at Colgate, but they still got the cover against Colgate. And Mike Jordan, Lafayette's first year head coach, he was an assistant on Langle's staff at Colgate for the past decade. He knows that team extremely well. He's going to slow the game down. There's going to be as few possessions as possible here if Lafayette has anything to say about it. And I really think that 2 touchdowns here, Steve, is way too many. 14 points, just too many. I really think that this is a competitive game, and I took the points. Lafayette hangs around and gets the money against that number in Hamilton, New York tonight.
Adam Trigger will be rooting for a middle in person. He'll be rooting for Colgate
yeah,
straight
exactly.
up.
I got the Colgate
Lafayette
sweatshirt on. Yep.
You've got a good 2 touchdown middle, though, so you might very well get it. And once again, you can find Adam Trigger on live TV tonight at 7:30 Eastern on CBS Sports Network if you want to look for him out of one of the 15. You got a 1 in 1,500 chance of finding them there
Yeah.
in the crowd.
I think the kids
Drew
all
Martin.
wear white. I think everyone will
Yeah,
have
it's going to be a
white
white.
on, so
Yeah,
maybe
once
I'll
again, that's a
stand
home game for Colgate. I love the fact that the number 1 seed gets the true home court. It rewards them for winning the regular season in a 1-bid league. So I'm a big fan of that. So I'll actually be rooting for Colgate tonight because I'd like to see them make the tournament. They deserve to be the team in there from the Patriot against number 6 seed Lafayette. All right, Drew Martin, finish us off. Give us a little late night degenerate special, something for the late night viewers tonight on Wednesday.
Last game on the card, guys. Big Sky Conference championship game here. 11:30 p.m. Eastern time on ESPN2. It's the Jackrabbits and the Bobcats. That's Northern Arizona and Montana State. We're going up and over 134.5. Shop around, find that number. 135 widely available. Northern Arizona over 80 points scored in their last 3 games. 87, 81, 83. Their best player, Jalen Cone, the Virginia Tech transfer. He scored 25 plus points in 4 of their last 5 games. We get Montana State here as the favorite. This is the last game in terms of somebody's season's pretty much ending here. The other team, whoever wins this game, is going into the tournament, punching their ticket, meaning Foul Fest at the end, which Montana State minus 7.5 point favorites here. Look for the Foul Fest at the end if we need it to help us out. Get up and over this total, guys. Modest total here. The betting public has pushed this down a little bit. We're going to take advantage, go the other way. 134.5 up and over, Steve, in the Northern Arizona, Montana State.
That's on ESPN2 at 11:30 Eastern tonight on Wednesday. And we're going to also look at a play from the Gold Sheet. We're going to talk about the Big Ten Conference first round in Chicago, Illinois. This game's at 9 o'clock Eastern on the Big Ten Network. The Gold Sheet likes the over between Minnesota and Nebraska. And we've seen substantial sharp money on this one. And the Gold Sheet agrees. Total open 134.5, now up to 138.5 between Minnesota and Nebraska. And there's a few reasons why the Gold Sheet likes the over in this game. First of all, Minnesota's last 6 games have averaged 147, so we got some good wiggle room even with the line move. These 2 teams combined to score 145 less than 2 weeks ago, and neither team even shot the ball that well. And neither team shoots 3-pointers at a high rate, so the affected by the big arena here, and points will be scored inside, so we don't have to worry about the sight line. So it all adds up to the Gold Sheet and some sharp money on the over 138 between Minnesota and Nebraska at 9 Eastern tonight on Wednesday. On the way out here, I'm going to quickly look at one additional game in the Big East tournament. I'm going to take a look at a free play for you here on Wednesday night, March the 8th, on Villanova minus 11. Now, this one saw some sharp early money, open 10.5, went up to 11.5, but now by mid-afternoon, we've started to see some buyback on Georgetown, and now it's down to 11. Now, Georgetown does qualify in some good technical situations I track, which really bad teams often do well in their first tournament game, but I don't think it's going to apply here because Villanova has a lot to play for. They have to win. They're just 16 and 15. This is a Final Four caliber team in years past. Without Jay Wright, they've struggled defensively this year. but they've been getting better recent weeks. And I also like the fact they won on the road by 16 at Georgetown, so they shows they're the better team. Yet they barely won the rematch a week after that in mid-January by just 4 at home as a double-digit favorite. But I actually think that'll keep them focused. And the fact that they're coming off a loss in their final regular season game last week against UConn will keep them extra focused. So it's a huge step down in class. Slow down half-court team against a Georgetown team that needs to play fast. I like Villanova minus the 11 tonight at 8 o'clock Eastern on Fox Sports 1. I've got a free NBA play on my page right now at wagertalk.com plus 4, count them, 4 strong best bets in college and pro hoops tonight. It's a powerful night on Wednesday. Check out my page, stevemerrillwagertalk.com. And don't forget, while you're there, enter my free Selection Sunday contest. It's ready right now. Pick enough questions right, you're going up to a full year, $2,000 value of my personal best bet, Steve Merrill, wagertalk.com. All right, let's recap the best bets for Wednesday night, March the 8th. Drew Martin likes the over in the late night game between Northern Arizona and Montana State. Big Sky final over 134.5. Adam Trigger will be in person rooting on Colgate to win outright, but more importantly, Lafayette to lose by less than 14. Lafayette plus 14 is his play. Ryan Power likes West Virginia, currently minus the 3.5 to minus 4. Myself, Steve Merrill, I like Villanova minus 11. And the gold sheet play of the day is Minnesota, Nebraska over 138.5. Appreciate everybody watching today on Wednesday. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up, the like. Make sure you hit subscribe on Wager Talk TV and check out wagertalk.com for some powerful best bets tonight on Wednesday. Comment below. Let us know your thoughts on these games tonight, some under the radar selections. And join us again tomorrow on Thursday for the next episode of College Basketball Happy Hour Tip-Off at 2 Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific, right here on Wager Talk TV. And don't forget to check out the NBA show in a couple hours at 4:15 Eastern today on Wednesday. Enjoy the games tonight. Best of luck. We'll talk to you again soon.
How'd you like to finish the college basketball season paying under $30 per week? Between now and Selection Sunday on March 12th, there's still tons of regular season college basketball action to go. Plus, all the conference tournaments and Wager Talk and Sports Memo are announcing their March Madness Bonanza special that will include the rest of the college basketball regular season, conference tournaments, NCAA tournament through the national championship, and any plays released in the NIT or CBI tournaments. That's right, from Monday, February 27th through Monday, April 3rd, there are 5 full weeks of hoops action, which breaks down to under $30 per week. Sign up for this promotion now on your favorite handicapper's homepage and get the rest of the college basketball season through the national championship in Houston on Monday, April 3rd, plus all non-March Madness tourneys, including the NIT and CBI, all for only $149. That's under $5 a day for one of the best betting experiences in sports. Some call March Madness the most exciting time in sports betting, so act fast as the March Madness Bonanza special is only available for a limited time. Grab your favorite college basketball handicapper, or perhaps add 2 or 3 college hoops experts to make this March Madness not only exciting, but also profitable. No coupon is needed. Just head to the homepage of the handicapper of choice and lock the $149 price in now. As the earlier you sign up, the more days you receive.